What is up, guys? I'm Williams, aka TheSwolefessor, here to catch you on health, fitness, social well-being. Today is Sunday. If you guys saw my last YouTube video, then we're picking right back up with day 2 of my 6-day training week, showing you guys what my current setup looks like with the programming. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel pretty tired today. One, just getting used to being back to doing like more volume, even just from what I did yesterday, as well as the fact that yesterday was just very, very long. Like Saturdays and Sundays are kind of like, Saturday's a day where I don't have any Skype check-ins with clients, but it's a high client interaction day because a bunch of my clients are training at the same time as me, and then before me and after me. So from the moment I wake up, pretty much the moment I go to bed, I am just going back and forth with clients, responding to them, sending them videos, and getting them through their sessions, everything like that. So I didn't go to bed till about like 3 in the morning, because that's about when my last client was done, just to have like international clients, as well as clients who just train really, really late when they get off work. Then I had to actually wake up a little bit earlier than I like to today, and today it's just been like going. But with that being said, I'm excited because today we got bench press, right? Which you guys already know, that's what your boys love benching. But we're working up to a long pause single, then we got some normal count bench back down work. Then the real fun stuff we get to craft today, guys. We got weighted dips, weighted pull-ups, getting back to them roots, you feel me? So I'm very, very excited about that. And as well as like we have like high volume chest supported rows, and then some arms, some face pulls. It's just gonna be like a good, fun upper body day. So looking forward to it. And I know that as I like just start lifting, getting on the bar, that I'll start to wake up more. And as always, like when I'm taking you guys through like my new setup, I'll be explaining like, pretty much the why behind each thing. At this point, you guys know, like, you should, if you've been with this channel for any amount of time, you should know, like, why we're doing pull-ups, why we're doing dips, everything like that. But for those of you who are like maybe new subscribers, since we're doing a little bit of growth every month, I'll definitely be breaking everything down, taking you through this workout. Good hitters, so that's good. That's good. This is gonna stay closed, kind of rotate, and then pull on the center. Okay. Full speed. Almost done. Okay, so top set of bench went extremely well. I hardly even really did any warm-ups. Took the bar, did 155, one rep each side, then went straight to 2 reps for 265, then did 2 reps in the green for 308, and then my top set of 319 pounds, 145 kilograms, and it felt really, really good with the long pause. My goal for this block, and however long we're gonna be pushing the long pause, is just to get it super, super strong. Like, I want my long pause to be very close to my just normal pause strength, so that way when we do take the long pause away, my normal pause strength just blasts through the roof. So next we've got 4 back down sets of 5, just normal regular pause with 12% less, so 88% of the top set weight, so it's going to be like 280 pounds. So close as we can get to that is 127.5 kilograms, so that's 281 pounds. So I'm going to do that for 4 back down sets of 5, and then we get the fun accessory work.
You just holding that one in the whole time? The little girl just standing right there. Dad! I want to go home.
Alright guys, so back down sets on bench went really, really well. This is easily like the highest starting point I've ever done as far as like just volume on a primary day, 4 sets of 5 with 281 pounds, and it felt really, really good. So next, we get into the accessories. Now, before we do, I just want to address a point that I brought up briefly at the end of my last video, which is this mindset of, okay, should we actually care about actual progression on our accessory list, in the sense of like, doing more weight over time, more sets, more reps? Now, I would hope the obvious answer for me, guys, is going to be yes, after I did a whole video over how to go about periodizing your accessory work, which I have linked in the description down below. There's lots of different ways of going about it, but this video gives you some good general rules to go about periodizing your accessory work based upon what type of movement it is, whether it's like a free weight compound movement, it's a single joint movement, whether it's a machine-based movement. So you guys definitely feel free to check that out. It'll be very useful for those of you where you're kind of just mindless with your accessory work, or maybe you aren't doing any accessory work at all. It'll give you a good starting point. But basically, the whole argument is that, hey, so long as you're progressing on your big 3, then, so long as you're getting that additional volume in with the accessories, even if it's the same sets, reps, and weights over time, you're still getting strong on the big 3, you're increasing your total weekly workload over time. And while that is true, we have to keep in mind there's a difference between doing what's effective and then doing what's optimal. It's kind of like, are you trying to make like just the minimum amount of games possible, or are you trying to maximize your growth potential? Because the reality is, guys, is like, for one, if we think about that concept from like just say the back, yeah, your back's gonna grow from deadlifts and stuff like that, but you're not going to maximize as much growth from just deadlifting or benching and squatting as what you would if you're actually kind of like have a focus on something like weighted pull-ups, lat pull-downs, different variations of rows. Granted, there's a time and place for everything. When you're close to a meet, yeah, you got to kind of like scale things back with the accessory work, as I've taught you guys about how to do that already as far as like tapering things back. But when you're further out from a meet, as I am right now, especially like, you know, with going up a weight class, being in a surplus, I want to take advantage of this time to really build by pushing those accessory lifts. So you guys are going to notice that whatever my set and rep structure is for this block, that with each week I'm going to try to add a little bit of load every single week while still being true to the confines of whatever the RP is set for me for the last set RP on each movement, right? Because, and the whole purpose of that is just to make sure that I'm not like, you know, pushing any accessory movement so far to where the exertion is higher than what we need and starts to leak into other things such as the big three. So you want it to all work together systematically, which is why I'm very big on coaches programming their accessory work within the big three versus just programming the big three and then like, you know, making the client do their own accessories, because that can get very messy. But like I said, you guys are gonna notice I'm trying to add weight kind of like each week within the block, and then when I come to a new block, I'll scale things back, but I'll start a little bit heavier than what I did the previous block so I can finish a little bit heavier and thus doing more total workload over time. Or I might even change the whole set and rep structure, as you guys will see how I go about that if you check out that video that I just talked about in the description down below about how to periodize your accessory work. Then I talk about like how I might start with 3 sets of 8 one block, then change to 4 sets of 6, so it's the same like set and rep volume together, but I can push heavier loads because it's fewer reps per set. Things like that are important because I'm not just trying to do the bare minimum to grow. I'm trying to do everything I can to maximize my growth as at efficient a rate as possible. So yeah, to get started, we've got weighted pull-ups, and I believe we have 4 sets of 6. You guys saw a couple videos very briefly, like, you know, what my higher, my tertiary bench day looks like when I have 4 sets of 8, so I get to go a little bit heavier day with 4 sets of 6. I believe it's 4 sets of 6 at like an RP 7 or 8. We'll see. You guys see it on screen, and based upon that, that's how I'll pick which load I'm gonna be starting with. Alright guys, so for a quick recap, doing weighted pull-ups. Anytime I do any type of pull-up, weighted, body weight tempo, lat pull-downs, from a functional standpoint, I'm of course focused on scapular elevation and depression, making sure that when I'm at the bottom end of the range of motion that I am fully elevated, the shoulders shrugged up, and that I'm initiating movement with depression. So I'm not pulling with my arms and staying shrugged up. I'm initiating movement by depressing first and the arms follow through afterwards. So that's obviously useful in terms of like the squat, the bench, because we do, of course, you know, as well as retract, we also like, you know, depress the scapula. So we get that functional benefit. And then just for the movement itself, I'm focused on having enough control of the eccentric to maintain my tension and position. But as soon as I hit that bottom end range of motion, I'm trying to be very explosive on the concentric, just because all the research is very clear that those faster concentrics are gonna be far more beneficial for hitting those higher threshold muscle fiber units and thus building overall more mass. Guys, so smashing weighted dips right now, 3 sets of 10 with 100 pounds. And I mean, obviously, you know, #1 priority with this movement, adding more overall mass to the pecs, triceps, front delts specifically. We're getting a little bit of lat work too on that eccentric, but the reason that I personally love weighted dips, and it's a movement you got to be careful with, like it's one of those things where because it could very well become like a primary movement if you load it enough, you got to be careful with having like, not doing so much to where it starts to interfere with your bench. Like back when I did do weighted dips and pull-ups as like primary movements, not just accessory lifts, they could definitely feed into my bench press or my squat or my deadlift just from like my back feeling really taxed from like heavy weighted pull-ups, or my bench feeling taxed from heavy weighted dips. But if you program them appropriately, like in my case, I'm only doing them once a week, then they're just a really good accessory. And I actually prefer them personally to things like incline barbell or even flat dumbbell press in some circumstances because it's such a different movement. It's not like a typical horizontal press, so I really am working the muscles in a different way, so it just kind of helps me feel good as far as preventing like overuse issues and things like that. Not to say that, you know, flat dumbbell press or incline bar press don't have their merit, because there's obviously going to be a little bit more direct carryover because you're still doing some type of like, you know, actual press, especially the incline barbell press. But in terms of just an accessory movement, I'm just focused on putting more mass with the muscles. I'm not so much as worried about like movement carryover, so much just the carryover from getting the muscles bigger, therefore having more strength. I love weighted dips. So yeah, gonna knock out 2 more sets of that, then get through the rest of the workout. Alright guys, so next I'm about to knock out some chest supported row, 3 sets of 15. Now, some of you guys may be wondering why I'm not doing pin lay rows like what I did at the beginning of, like, you know, my last off season, about 16 weeks ago when I had pin lay rows on this day. And it's simply due to the fact that I'm not trying to do too much to wear my back out on any one given day, especially considering the fact that yesterday I had trap bar deadlifts. Like, I actually woke up, out of everything from all the volume I did yesterday, the thing that felt the most sore was my upper back just from keeping it tight on trap bar deadlifts. And the fact that I'm already doing a very heavy back dominant movement in the form of weighted pull-ups, that's another reason. And then lastly is the fact that if you think about it, I'm benching, I'm doing weighted pull-ups and weighted dips. That's 3 pretty big upper body movements. I try to do no more than like 2 to 3 big upper body movements on any one given day. So that's pretty much why I'm doing this instead. It's just less taxing on the lower back, less taxing as a whole, but still lets me get some good quality volume in as far as like a rowing motion, focusing on the upper back, full protraction, retraction, all that good jazz. And then after I do this, I'm gonna have an arm superset of choice. Once again, just trying to get the guns, man, you know what I'm saying? Open carry here in Texas, as well as like, you know, getting that single joint work in is good for like just elbow health, connective tissues, as long as you're not excessive with it. And then we'll finish off with some face pulls with external rotation, which once again, emphasizing the external rotation, good upper back movement, good rear delt health movement, the entire shoulder girdle release. And then that'll be it for this workout.
I was just drinking out love. I'm just on my drugs. I let the convertible work. She wanna suck on it because I'm serving. She tell me she wanted to burn. She wanted to count. She wanted to burn. Pop up, really like that can't I got street.
Alright guys, so quick little tip for face pulls. Those of you who keep up with my content all know that I like to do face pulls with emphasis on external rotation just to get a longer range of motion on the shoulder girdle. It also just helps with practicing external rotation. And if you have a longer rope at your gym, this isn't an issue, but for a lot of gyms, they only have this short type of rope, which isn't awful, but it's just kind of hard to fully externally rotate because of how short it is. So what I like to do instead is just take a band, which most of y'all have access to because you probably use it for mobility or warm-ups. Put it through. Now, from here, I don't just go into it because there's a delay when I pull on the band and then the actual pulley. So what I'll do instead is put my hands through, wrap it once, wrap it twice if need be, but usually just a couple times is plenty. And then I can fully externally rotate without any issues. Just putting y'all on some games.
Everybody know my names. Everybody knows that I'm a name. I be wearing up a check. I be fucking on your ex. Everybody know my names. Ooh. Everybody know my names. Everybody know my names. I be wearing up a check. I be fucking on your ex. Everybody know my names. Everybody know my names.
Alright, so as you guys can probably tell, it is the next day. Today is Monday, day 3 of the training week. It is my secondary squat day with a volume focus. And I figured I'd just add this day onto this video because it's such a short day as far as movements that I have that it's not like really worth doing its own video over. But we've got SSB squats for 3 sets of 8 and an RP6, so I want each set to feel about RP6. Then we've got belt squats just for, you know, good additional volume on the quads without wearing out the back anymore. And then some hamstring focus accessory work in the form of dumbbell RDLs and then leg curls. And then that'll pretty much be it for this workout, and then that'll be it for the video.
Like usual, way off in the deep end like usual. Niggas swear they passed us, they doing too much.
Alright guys, so you just saw my first and last set of 8 with 300 pounds RP6. And the way I determined to use that weight was I looked at my previous blocks from like 2 or 3 blocks ago when I was doing like, you know, tempo SSB and then just normal SSB for like sets of 4 and 5. And kind of based on what I was hitting for the rep ranges at certain RPs there, I came to the determination that, okay, 300 pounds is going to be a good place to start, where like, you know, each set, especially that last set, is feeling no worse than like an RP6. And honestly felt really, really good. I was just talking to a couple friends about how it's crazy how just your mindset towards something can make you feel better. Usually, when I see sets of 8, I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to do all that. And because you're not really feeling it, you can get lazy with it. But I came in very excited. One, I like SSB squats too. It's been forever since I've had sets of 8 on anything as far as like a squat variation. So I was just came in really excited to do it, and everything felt really, really good. It's one of those things too where keeping in mind my primary days, right? Like with singles and stuff, I go based upon actual exertion, like how difficult this feel or how many more jumps can I make. On the secondary days, I go based upon actual reps in reserve, like how many more reps do I think I could get. So even if a set feels kind of difficult, I don't just go based upon like, oh, that felt kind of hard, let me lower it. I go based upon like, okay, could I still get 4 more reps? Could I, or in this case, like, could I get like 4 more reps, right? This is RP6, or rep in reserve actually. And as long as it feels that way for each set, then I'm good to go. So yeah, I was really happy with that. Now I've got, like I said, belt squats, some hamstring work, and then we're done. So we have 3 sets of 15 and sub RP6 for today's belt squat, which is why I'm going so light. I only have 2 plates each side, so it's like 180 pounds, mind you. So something that I personally like about the belt squat a little bit more than say like a pitch shark is this, you know, some people love the pitch shark, some people love belt squat. As long as you have some type of belt squat, I think that's great. But the reason I like you know, the Rhino Row belt squat is because the tension feels more consistent. The belt squat is more like a normal squat in the sense of it gives you like there's parts of it that feel easier, right? And there's parts of it that feel harder. With the belt squat, the tension feels pretty consistent from all the way down and all the way back up, especially when you add bands to this. Granted, you can add bands to the belt squat, to the pitch arc as well, but even then, it's like, I like the fact that this has more overload potential. Like, if I'm doing pitch arc, I'm doing at least 4 plates or more, even for very high reps. Whereas here, I only have like 2 plates each side, and it's like equal to what I would like, you know, it's like about half what I would need to put on for doing the same rep range on the pitch arc. And keep in mind, like, even though some people are like, oh, but the belt squat feels more like a normal squat, it's better for carryover, I'm not doing the belt squat as like a variation of squat. It's not like SSB or front squats or high bar or anything like that. I'm doing it for additional volume on the legs. And the reason I like belt squats so much is because for me, out of like belt squats, reverse hack squats, leg press, it lets me get the best range of motion on the quads. It's a nice, easy way of getting good additional volume in without having to load my back at all. So that's why I like it a lot and why I actually prefer this one, because if I'm getting more of that constant tension and I can get more out of less weight, that's great, because it means that even if I do put the same amount of weight on here that I would on the pitch arc, I'm gonna get that much more out of it. But yeah, since it's 3 sets of 15 at sub 6, this is what I'm starting with. Now I'll just keep adding weight as I go. I'm usually doing at least 3 plates each side with this or more based on the rep range, but this is my first time having 3 sets of 15 with the Rogue Rhino belt squat. I've done it with pitch arc like months ago, but yeah, felt really good for the first set. Gonna get to these last 2. All right, guys, closing this video out with a voiceover, and I just wanted to address a couple of things at the end of this video. The first thing concerning the belt squat itself that I actually forgot to mention in the raw footage was I want you guys to notice how I'm still focusing on like driving my knees forward. I'm not just sitting my hips back really, really far, and that I'm using the handles to kind of balance myself, but I'm not pulling up on them aggressively. I feel like a lot of people kind of abuse this movement because they just focus on hinging their hips back too far, or they load as much weight as possible and then they just kind of pull themselves up. Once again, the purpose of this movement is additional volume on the quads, so I'm making sure that I'm keeping that range of motion on the quads by still treating it like a normal squat. I'm not just sitting back as far as I can or aggressively using the handles to just pull myself up. So that was one thing that I wanted to mention. The next thing is you guys are going to be seeing on screen, of course, like, you know, the additional hamstring work that I had on this day, as well as actually day 4's workout, which is my secondary higher volume bench day, along with the accessory work that comes after that. Now, what I want you guys to notice is that for everything, right, it's pretty much, other than the bench work itself, that's 3, you guys are gonna see that's 3 sets of 9. But for these accessories, right, on this secondary lower body day, everything is pretty much like, you know, 3 sets of 12, 3 sets of 15. And you're gonna see that on the upper body day, that everything's around like 4 sets of 12. And the reason we're doing that is because these secondary day guys are really just focused on good quality volume. Now, with that being said, you're gonna notice that the loads I'm starting with are all like, you know, relatively light compared to, you know, what I could probably do for like, you know, less reps, but they're still, the weight's still heavy enough for me to be within range of that prescribed RP that is being set for me, whether it's, you know, anywhere from RP 6 to like RP 8 or some of the, like, you know, single joint movements, RP 9, 10, whatever it may be. And the reason that I'm starting off on the lighter end is so that I can pretty much just gradually add load every single week so that the workload can go up. With doing things like 3 sets of 12, 3 sets of 15, or 4 sets of 12, rather than trying to, like, you know, add more sets of reps, to me the easiest way to ensure I'm doing more progression and more total workload over time is just to go up in weight. So I'm starting a little bit on the lighter end, so that way with each week I can add as little as, like, you know, 5 pounds, or maybe depending how good I'm feeling, like 10 pounds, and ensure that I am getting that, you know, increased workload over time without pushing the exertion of the prescribed movements too far out of the range of what's set for me. And that's the thing, guys. I'll have a description down below. One, my video over how total workload is what matters for muscle growth within the context of hard sets, and then I'll also have my video linked in the description down below going over why you don't have to train high exertion in order to grow, because I feel like that's a misconception where people feel like they either have to train to failure or always be training close to failure in order to grow, which simply isn't the case. Yes, our sets need to be hard enough to stimulate growth and adaptation, meaning, you know, you want to be hitting at least around, like, you know, RP 6 to 7 minimum, because when the exertion is a lot lower than that, then chances are you maybe aren't hitting those higher muscle threshold fibers, because either the weight's not heavy enough to where you're doing that, or you're not doing enough reps to where you're doing that. But keeping in mind, at the end of the day, exertion is just a tool to help us kind of gauge that we are training hard enough rather. If the rep range is high enough or the weight on the bar is high enough, then you're going to be hitting around that that exertion of, like, you know, 6 to 7 bare minimum. But you don't ever have to actually train to failure or even necessarily close to failure in order to grow. We can see that from the research. You don't have to ever hit like an RP 10 or even necessarily an RP 9. As long as you're, like, you know, at least in that RP like 6 to RP 8 range, and the total workload is going up over time, whether it's in the form of sets, reps, or weight, then you know you're going to be good to go as far as ensuring growth because you are growing. That's why, for example, even on purely percentage-based programs where there is no RP set, and maybe you're just starting with a certain percentage of your 1 rep max, as you're increasing that over time, you can ensure that you're still growing. Why? Because you are doing more total workload, and you know that the workload you're starting with was enough to ensure growth to begin with. So as long as you're adding upon that and building upon that, you're gonna be able to get bigger, and as a result, you will get stronger. So I just kind of want to address that because I know there's this misconception where I think people are just misunderstanding studies or misunderstanding data and feel like they have to train high exertion or they have to go to failure, and that's simply not the case. And so you guys are going to see with me as I'm building into this 83 kg class, I'm not doing a whole bunch of crazy sets to failure. One, I don't want that fatigue to leak into other days unnecessarily, and two, it's just not needed to ensure growth. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to address those couple of points to give you guys a little bit more clarity in terms of how my days are set up. But that's pretty much it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you did. If you're not, leave a comment down below. Let me know what I can make it better. Like the video, share, subscribe. Keep it simple, specific, scientific, and I'll catch you guys later.